Oh yeah! Snap into the BAMcast. All right, guys, welcome back to the BAMcast. Super excited to talk about this documentary. I like documentaries. I love me some wrestling, so it's a perfect merger. So yeah, this is Darkwingduke from the esteBAM gaming cast. You guys know him. What's up, Darkwing?
Well, you know something, Bam. When you decided to ask me to be part of this, I decided, what could we talk about? And what do we have in common? Oh, yeah. So we decided to settle down on some documentaries. Oh, yeah. And if you can tell by my accent, this is more Michiganian. Oh, yeah. We decided to talk about wrestling. Oh, yeah.
Promised Land.
Razor Ramon here said, yeah,
I'm the bad guy, Chico. So basically, this is on Hulu right now, right? That's where I'm watching it anyways. Let's go into it. I know you got a particular episode you want to talk about, but let's break down what this is exactly. Go ahead if you want to. What is Dark Side of the Ring?
So Dark Side of the Ring is a documentary format that uses flashbacks to tell these stories in wrestling, and not necessarily stories that you see on TV, but stories that are behind the scenes. So it's like you get this drama and all this other stuff. And it's like, I guess in the way I put it to Bam, and this is kind of true, kind of not true, but it's like you're in a fraternity and everybody's on roids. And then and some people are doing cocaine, and you have to work for like 5 to 10 minutes. And then after that, you go back to party.
It's party time. Yeah. And the good thing about this documentary is that you don't even have to be a wrestling fan to enjoy it. My wife's been watching it with me. And at first she was like, I'm not going to like this. But man, she was drawn in quick. Every episode, she's like, I'm going to bed. She stayed up for the whole episode. So yeah.
What episodes did you have her watching?
So first of all, we watched the one that you wanted us to watch, which was the, Collision in Korea?
Collision in Korea.
That was the first one. Then after that, I was like, well, let me check out the first few episodes. So then we watched episode 1, which was the Macho King, Macho Man, right? I love that one. I knew some of that story between him and Elizabeth. I did not know the whole story, though, whatsoever.
It's crazy, like the full picture of it. And then the way they were like, all right, we're going to put this on TV.
Yeah, it's crazy how, so one of the main storylines with the Macho Man is that he and Elizabeth, they have a little bit of a falling out. And at one of the main events or whatever, he's getting attacked by this other broad and he's getting beat up. And she runs out of the crowd and basically whoops her ass, and after that he proposes to her, right? And it's the fucking royal wedding, basically, because she was pretty much the first lady of wrestling, and it was basically like that stuff like that had never been done before at that point, right? So
right, and the crazy thing about her is she wasn't really even like a wrestler. Like she just kind of came in and she just played the role of manager so well, and like the audience fell in love with her, and it was just like. I don't want to say like everybody wants like to have that damsel in distress sort of, but she was kind of that. Yeah. This was this moment where she comes out and fights for her man per se. And I think like a lot of women were like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of women didn't like her initially because they were like, oh, this like she's like, oh, is that woman protect? But it's like when she like stood up for her man, especially the macho man, she's like, she's the macho woman,
Yeah. And some people did like her though. Like a lot of people did like her because she was so classy. Like she was.
Oh, they loved her. She was like Princess Di.
Yeah, she was like Princess Di. She was the embodiment of class, basically, right? So that's the one I watched. After that, we switched over to the second episode. I think it was like the next night. I've been watching like one per night. I've only watched 4. So after that, we watched Bruiser Brody. I'd never heard of that dude, but
I had never heard of him either.
So that was a perfect example. One of the things, things you find out that they keep saying in this documentary is that if you're crazy inside the ring, you're more likely crazy outside the ring, because back then you had to embody this persona. You couldn't like turn it off. And he kind of did, but behind closed doors, just with his family. Right. Outside of that, he would not let anybody, know how intelligent he was, or
K-Fab. Like, that's just like how it used to be. Like now, like there was no internet back then. There was like, if someone found out something about you, it's because like someone saw you. But even if they saw you, it was like it had to be like a reputable source saying that. It couldn't just be like some kid saw you, whatever. But it's like now it's like someone just takes out their phone. Yeah. Oh, they're buddies now. Like I thought they're wrestling each other. Like I thought they hated each other in the ring. Yeah, that's a Russian Soviet guy against an American. Like I thought they hated each other.
Like it was so crazy. One of the things that happened to me when I was a kid, because I saw all this shit when I was a kid. Like I saw the royal wedding. I saw a lot of this stuff. One of the things, like when Hogan did one of his first movies, which was No Holds Bar or something with Zeus. Debo.
Yeah.
I remember like I was like super scared of Zeus and like, man, this guy's he's intimidating. And
it's crazy. Like, he looked crazy.
Yeah, he looked crazy. He was at his peak then. And then he came to wrestling, like, for real, right? I was like, whoa, this movie, like, is real? And then you see a point where they're kind of, like, doing some, like, Entertainment Tonight stuff, and they're, like, shaking hands and stuff. I'm like, whoa, what? What is going on here?
It's like, it's so that's the crazy thing about wrestling, right? It's this thing that is, like, in and out of reality. And it's like, there's nothing else like it. Like there's no, like, think about it. Is there anything else where it's like, it kind of like, it's fake. And then like, sometimes they'll bleed or they'll get hurt. And then it kind of like the Andy Kaufman stuff. And it's like, what is happening?
Back then you couldn't tell. Hey, let me give some shout outs because I forgot to do this last time too. So thanks, GorillaZilla for the Prime sub. He subbed a couple episodes ago, and I was like, I was gonna give him a shout out. If you're watching, because I know he watches these after the recording most of the times. Thanks, man. So sorry. I turn off my notifications during the podcast, and then it looks like, damn, Patzer 99 just subbed again today, 6 months in a row.
Hey, Pats, what's up, Patzer? You know my rules, boys. I don't pay to play, so.
Yeah, thanks, Patzer. And I think Drummer, he subbed as well a while back, but I'm not even sure if it was in a podcast, but either way, thanks a lot. He's been subbing for 37 months. Patzer's about the same thing on two different accounts.
I mean, you got some private dancers out here, boy.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to not talk to none of y'all. God damn. And just in, Ill Will with the Prime sub for 11 months. Thanks, Will.
For 11 months. You know how stingy he is, boy.
I know, right? He's borrowing somebody else's Prime sub to give it to me. No joke. Anyways, Patzer says, what's up, Darkwing? What's up, man?
What's up, Patzer?
All right, so where were we at? All right, so the third episode I watched was the Von Erichs.
Oh, man, so sad.
So sad. I had heard so much. Like, I've heard about this family, but it was before my time. I think it was before your time, too. I think we caught towards the end of it, because I remember the Texas tornado. But other than that, I didn't know nothing about the Von Erichs, other than everybody spoke really highly of these guys.
I had heard of the Von Erichs, and then I know one of the guy's sons is wrestling. Like, his sons are like a tag team now. And I think they wrestle for like MLW, Major League Wrestling. You can watch them on YouTube. But it's like, like I knew they had like a crazy good legacy, and then it just like stopped. Like the line just stopped, and I was just like, what? Like, it's very strange. And then this came out, and you're just like, oh my god, like it's just like tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. Like,
let's just give them the cliff notes. So basically, it's like 6 brothers or something like that, maybe more. There's a lot of brothers. But it starts off in tragedy. Their oldest brother, he dies when he's like, they're still like, what? He's like 9 or something. He's really young. He's like 9. How did he die? I don't remember exactly. He got he was like touching an RV and it had a bad connection or something. And he got electrocuted, but that's not so much what killed him. What happened is he fell face down into the snow. And as he laid there, he just basically drowned or suffocated, right?
Yep.
So that's
it's like they're a lot of their deaths are like, especially in the beginning, were like stupid. No, I don't want to say stupid, but it's like very country. Like any one of us could have done that shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, because especially how I grew up, 100% could have been me easily.
Yeah.
Because it's like there were just times where I was just in the woods, by myself, just messing with shit.
Yeah, dude, I found a gun in the woods one time. So my parents had a business, right? And in the back of the business, there were some homes as well. I'd go play in the parking lot, and then there was like a little foresty area, and there was a a little a hole that looked like somebody had perfectly dug like circles. So I'm a kid. I'm gonna go investigate. Sticking my hands in there. There could be snakes in there. I could die by a snake bite, right?
Easily.
Well, I go in there and there's a gun in there. And I like take it. And I'm like playing with it. Don't tell my parents. I'm like, oh shit! If I show my parents, they're gonna take this shit away from me. So I remember hiding it under the. We had a big, huge, like one of those rapist vans back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I hid it like under the fold-out bed sofa thing. Hid it out under there, and it didn't function. It was all like rusted to shit. But my brother and my mom ended up finding it. Man, I got my ass beat.
Wow. I remember probably the most dangerous thing for me as a kid was I used to go into like I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. So it's like there's this one old like wooden cabin or whatever that was kind of like not necessarily on the property of my backyard, but it was just kind of like there. And so I was just always going there and like, you know, play around. I didn't give a shit. Like cats would be in there or whatever. So like any animal could have been in there and just murdered me. But one day I went in there and the floor just gave away and it just like the whole thing just kind of collapsed on me. And I used to have this scar right here where there was a rusted nail through my wrist. And I remember like getting out of it by myself. I had to be like 9 or 8, getting out of it by myself, knowing I have like, you know, pulling the thing out of my wrist, kind of, you know, going over to my mom and crying. And she's like, oh man, you're bleeding. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, all right, well, don't go over there. Like she just didn't do anything. Like,
you could have needed a tetanus shot, right? Yeah. I used to do that too. We had like a rental house next door, and it wasn't really our house, but the people that were renting to us would give us like a lower rate, and we would collect the payment from that house or make sure to rent it, take care of it, basically keep up the yard. And I would go play in that house all the time. Super dangerous. Probably had asbestos in it. But anyway, the Von Erichs basically, so the oldest brother dies like that. Then they become these wrestling phenoms. It's like 5 brothers, and they're all great. It's basically like the boy band of wrestling, but fucking jacked, right?
Great way to put it. Yeah, that's it. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
So the oldest brother, he's the first one to go. At their peak, what happens to him exactly? You remember?
He didn't kill himself, did he?
No. They were suspected him to overdose, and what happened is he was like in Japan at the time, and basically they thought he overdosed because he just died in his hotel room, but apparently he had like gastroenteritis or some bullshit like that. I don't know.
Because they found him bloated, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, "What is this?" Like, yeah.
But the way they called his parents up, they were just like, what's his name again? Von Erich. They just said, Japan. This is from Japan. Calling from Japan. This is Von Erich. Mr. Von Erich. And they're like, yes. Your son's dead. Click.
Yep. They did that. They did that with Bruiser Brody's wife, if I'm not mistaken. They were like, Mrs. Brody. She was like, yes, Bruiser's dead. Click. She was like, what? And then someone called her, gave her tickets because she had to go down to South America to go get them. And so it's like, it's like 1970 something. And it's like a woman with like 2 kids or 3 kids.
Yeah.
Went to South America by herself to get her dead husband. Oh,
super dangerous.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then basically after that, we get a string of like suicides, right? Basically, either they get hurt and then they can never regain
wrestle to their peak.
So they basically get depressed and they off themselves. And then there was then they started bringing in these brothers that were like, they weren't really athletes, or they were like cousins or something.
Yeah.
They weren't
really good.
Yeah, they weren't cut out for it.
Basically, like the brand, the Von Erich brand, they were trying to keep that going. Because they were so greedy. The family, I don't want to say the family was greedy. It was more the promotions was greedy because they needed that name to keep these promotions going. And they just weren't the same. Yeah. Like they just.
So basically, it felt like as they would come in, they wouldn't really live up to it and they would end up offing themselves. And then they got to the point where they started bringing in these fake Von Erichs. And that's where their whole lineage just basically became disgraced because everyone knew you're not a Von Erich. You kind of look like him, but you're not one.
So, which is crazy. There's no internet. There's no anything. Yeah. And they're like, how do you figure that out? But it's like, I think it's just like that area because they didn't really travel that much.
Yeah.
So
everybody.
Like
yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was saying, I think it was just Texas, right? It was like the Texas area because that's where the Von Erichs kind of run. It wasn't really Smoky Mountain which is my area.
Yeah. So one of the Von Erichs, he turns into the Texas Tornado, and that's the one I remember. He's from my time. I didn't know nothing about the Von Erichs. And he was super athletic. I remember this dude just being jacked and athletic as fuck. The crazy thing is he got hurt in a motorcycle accident at some point and had his foot chopped off. Kept it a secret, told no one. And, you know, his dad, which was also a professional wrestler, all the promoters, everybody went to this room and were like, okay, we can't tell anybody about this because the Von Erich name is going to look weak, right? So this motherfucker still wrestles and is still an animal without a foot. I guess he had some kind of prosthetic to kind of, you know.
Yeah, so he would just have his boot, right? He'd have his boot over the whole thing and prosthetic so he kind of could stand. And I don't know how the guy could work because he was still like, so at 100%, he was like ridiculously amazing to watch. And so I guess like even on one foot, he was still better than like
a lot of
1/3 of people. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. So he ends up offing himself too. I do remember this in the news. He basically shoots himself because I think he got really addicted to drugs after that whole foot thing. That just had him drugged up all the time.
Painkillers, man. Yeah.
And
painkillers are oof.
Yeah. He ends up offing himself. Anyways, basically every single brother is gone except for one of them. Mm-hmm. Lone survivor. Mm-hmm. So that's all the episodes I've watched.
Sure.
Did you want to go into the one that you were most excited about, which is the collision in Korea?
Before we go, I have to plug one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't mind. Guys, I made a kid's book.
All right, so it's called Brave Bees Bath Time. What's it about? Or what did you do on it? Yeah, don't tell us what it's about so people have to read it, but what did you work on?
Well, what I did, I actually wrote this. I art directed it as well. There is an artist named Itzel who's very talented, and we worked together virtually over the pandemic when no one could leave their fucking houses to make this kid's book because we were bored and we were kind of tired, especially me. Like I was kind of tired of a lot of kids' books because they're very PC. Like I don't know if they're PC per se, but they're very like, oh, my skin's different and let me acknowledge that. And or it's like, oh, I feel like a different person, but that's okay. And I just miss old stories where it was like, cool, so you're like Hispanic, or cool, you're Black, who cares? Like, let's just see that imagination pop. And gotcha. So it's just like, it's just about just being like a normal kid that doesn't have that pressure, like still like trying to stay a kid as long as possible, that doesn't have that pressure of trying to like fit in, like, because it's like, you don't have to try to fit in. You're already in, right?
Yeah, you're
in. Like, so it's like, that was me. Like, I just want to like bring shit back to the basics of like kids literature where it was like fun and you didn't have to like think so hard. Like you just like enjoy yourself.
Yeah, right. Why do we always have to point it out?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's very, it's like, I'm telling you, like a lot of the top sellers are like, to me, kind of depressing, but it's like, it's also like, that makes me think like, oh man, are kids that depressed? Or do parents think their kids are that depressed? And think like, you know how like, you're just like, here, have some pills, crazy kid, instead of just like trying to talk to him. Like, bro, if you don't talk to this kid just to see and stop, just give him medicine, like just talk to the kid, like just see what's going on.
Tell us about the YouTube video that you made about the book.
Yes. So I narrated the book and we decided like, since we had like my background's in post visual effects, I'm currently working for Netflix. Oh, hey, Netflix coworkers. But like, so, you know, I have a background in animation, but I just decided like, you know, I have this book made. We have these elements. Let's make this a motion cartoon. And I do the narration a la Happily Ever After, which if you guys remember that on HBO was like barely, you know, you have that narrator that kind of like reads the whole thing and does all the voices.
Yeah,
I do that. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And I'm going to do another one. I'm working on a second book already because I don't know how to quit.
Yeah, and then Itzel did all the art, right? That's what you were saying.
Itzel did all the art.
She
did all the art. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, it's amazing. Like, she's very like, hard on herself for no reason, but it's like I always tell her like it's really good.
Yeah, it's really
she
good.
Doesn't get it. Like she doesn't get it. Like she's really good.
When I post this video on YouTube, I'll make sure to post all your links for the Brave Bees book, and that'll be in there. So
yeah, Collision in Korea. So I'm just interested in the dynamics in the history of North Korea versus like the rest of the world, anyways, because that's just like North Korea is such a like a crazy thing to me that still exists. And it's like everybody's very patient with North Korea. And it's like, it's just kind of unheard of, honestly. And it's like, we're just like, I don't know how long we're going to keep playing this game with them. It's like, that's like my real thing here.
Yeah.
But this episode pretty much like, it's a very great look into like North Korea being American, going into like this very communist place and like having to like, you have to play by the rules or else you're done. Like, like there's no, that's it. Like, and it's like, you're just a wrestler. So it's like, unless you're Ric Flair or, you know, Muhammad Ali, who both went, nah, dog, like you're, if they took you down, no one would care.
Yeah. Basically, anytime I've seen any report on North Korea. So this is where I was more interested when Darkwing told me about this. I was more interested in what's going on in North Korea. Because anytime I've seen any kind of like 2020 or secret cameras snuck into North Korea, I get super interested because it's a anomaly, right? There's no other country to this day that is still, that I know, especially not that big, you know, that to that level, that's running like this. It's crazy. It feels like they're still living in 1940 something over there. And
did you hear they just banned a lot of they just banned a lot of like Western things in North Korea, like this week or last week.
Like new stuff?
Banned, yeah, dude, new stuff. Like they banned skinny jeans, they banned mullets.
Shit.
Yeah, dude, they're catching up with us.
Wow.
They're like so far behind.
That's crazy too, because I don't know how they hide it to this day. Like now we have the internet, but they don't, right? They're like, everything's real restricted. They only have 3 channels, maybe more now, but they're all devoted to North Korean propaganda and how Japan and America are evil. And also North Korea apparently won World War II.
Yeah, it's a fact, Jack.
So yeah, it's just one big cult. That's what it is. It's a cult country, basically.
That's I mean, if like religion were involved, maybe. Yeah. But I guess they do see their leader.
Well, no, they see him as the Lord.
Yeah,
they see him as the Lord. They cry over him. It's a cult, but it's not the people's fault. It's the government's fault, right? So,
I mean, it is. But it's like, what do you even do, right? Because it's like, that's why you can't just be like, all right, we're just going to ruin them, because they're using the people as a shield that don't know any better.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They'll take out their own. They don't care. But let's go into what intrigued you about this collision in Korea.
So Collision Korea, I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like a WCW. Movie. It's a huge movie. So WCW is trying to get a leg up on WWF, like Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Attitude Era, WWF. And so the best way, or like one of the only ways you can do it, is by going to North Korea and working with a company called New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is like one of the best wrestling companies in Japan. Some people would say the world, but I'm going to just keep it at Japan. And basically they were able to get some WCW guys. They tried to get Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan knew the deal. He was like, no, thank you. They got Ric Flair, but you know how Ric Flair is like, I'll do whatever. Like,
He's a wild man. He's a wild man. He'll do anything. Thrice. He'll do anything 3 times.
Yeah. And every time it turn out bad, he'll still do it a 4th time. Like, he's Ric Flair. Like, he doesn't care.
I had respect for him when I heard that, because Hogan was immediately like, "No, I can't make this one, brother."
Can't make it, brother. Like, that was it.
But Flair was like, "Woo!" And he's like, "When did the fucking plane take off?"
Yeah, he was like, "I've never had sex with a North Korean woman before. Woo! Let's go!" Like, he was like ready. Like,
yeah. So yeah, they take off. So what happens?
I mean, they get him, they get Ric Flair, they get like one of like the best fucking like black wrestlers, and black and Hispanic, Too Cool Scorpio. That dude's sick as fuck.
Yeah, I didn't know about him. He was before my time. And when I watched this documentary, he's a crazy good high flyer. Man, he was super athletic.
Too Cool Scorpio, man, that dude's fucking amazing. One of my favorite wrestlers before like Diamond Dallas Page and shit. But and who else they got? They got one of the Legions of Doom. I believe it was Hawk. And let me tell you about Hawk. Because I don't think you know about Hawk, like background on Hawk.
I mean, I know about the Road Warriors, but I don't know everything about them.
Like, you know about the Road Warriors on TV and shit. But like Hawk specifically, out of the 2 people in real life, that's the one you didn't want to run into. Animal, you'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Da, da, da. Hawk, he'd just rip your fucking head off.
Oh,
He
for real?
Yeah, dude. He just rip your shit off.
Huh.
Like, no joke. Like, roid, strong as fuck, like roided out.
And
like,
aggressive.
And aggressive. Like, fighting in bars, like he'll fuck your shit up. But like once he's like calmed down and shit, super nice guy. But he will like he's ready to fight. And so like that's why and I didn't know because in the documentary, like him and Too Cool Scorpio kind of get into it. And that's why I was like, oh shit, Too Cool Scorpio is gonna die. But however, he's here, you know, talking in this interview. So it's like he's not dead.
Yeah.
Because I was scared for him because I know what Hawk's about. But like, so you have those two guys, you have Ric Flair, you have Eric Bischoff, you have Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali, and wasn't there another famous athlete outside of the wrestlers, or no, just Muhammad Ali?
They just brought Muhammad Ali, and I guess that's kind of all you needed.
That's all you need, yeah.
Honestly.
Okay, so why are they going on this trip? What is the purpose of like why are they?
So this is like for peace. This is like a peace sort of like to show like all Americans aren't like, you know, we're here to entertain the North Korean people.
And Japanese as well.
Japan, yep. The Japanese aren't that big. You know, they're not like here to like, you know, rape your women and all that stuff. Like, because that propaganda, like that was it. They were like, they're gonna kill us. They're gonna take over our land. They're gonna take our women. Da 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 da. And they're just trying to come to show them that no, we're not going to do that. We can be like very peaceful. And it's very interesting that North Korea even agreed to it, but it's like, it's because they liked, like their leader liked wrestling. Their leader liked Hulk Hogan. They tried to get Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's like, no. But it's like, that's kind of like how it started. And I believe his name is Aoki, like this very famous wrestler.
Japanese wrestler, right?
Yeah, very famous.
He's basically like the Japanese version of, Kane. He's a politician high up there. So basically, he was trying to get reelected. A lot of pieces came into play. Inoki. Yeah. Inoki. He was trying to get reelected. He wasn't doing so good because there was this Yakuza scandal going on. The great leader of North Korea had just passed away. And the new guy, Kim.
When you say just passed away, he passed away like 2 years prior to this. Like just passed, like, yeah, like they were still like this is like a 5 or 10 year mourning that's happening, right? So it's like they didn't come until like 2 years after the guy was dead, and they were still mourning and stuff. So like what you saw was like 2 or 3 years late, like, you know, he's a god, right? So it's like,
so Kim Jong-il, I don't know how you say the name, but the next leader, his son, was trying to make a statement. So he was like, let me show you how I'm different and how powerful I am, what I can pull off. So it was a combination of all these things. So basically he wants to prove that point. And then I think it was like a few other things, and that's basically why this event happened. But yeah, the crazy thing to me was how they took off on that rickety old 1940s plane. Ooh. The whole shit's shaking. There's nothing really to seatbelt you down. The whole plane is bugged. So this is where it becomes like a movie. The whole plane is bugged. You can't say nothing ill about North Korea. That shit was crazy to me. They don't even know what they're getting themselves into.
I had no idea.
They land. They immediately are fucking hemmed up, get some shit taken from them, and they take their passports too. They're like, yoink. And it goes from there.
And then when they walk through, so they land, and then they like walk through like the terminal, but the terminal's just empty. And it's like cakes of dust, like kind of this thick, because like no one's been in there forever. So it's like they're just like, what? Like they're like, what is this?
No one comes in and out basically for the most part.
Yeah. And so it's like they get to, so it's like they do like a lot of like press things where it's like, but like they think they're going to do like interviews about the event, but like their interviews end up being about the leader that just passed away. Yeah. And so it's strange. Like it's like they were like, all right, we're gonna go to this dinner, but before you go to this dinner, here, take these flowers to this like burial statue, and we're gonna take pictures of that. And then when you go to the dinner, we're not gonna take pictures of that. Like, yeah,
that's why this becomes another political thing that this event was made for. So North Korea kind of wants to show their power. Like, look how great our leader is. We have all these professional foreign, entertainers coming to bow to our great leader. And, that's kind of one of their ploy. That's what they wanted. They didn't care so much about the wrestling match. They did, but they kind of wanted to use it at a different angle. And these wrestlers, they're like, I don't even know who this dude is, but they were like respectful and like, prayed over his grave, or, at least pretended.
Well, I mean, like they were respectful because they had guns to the back of their heads, right?
So that's the other thing. Yeah, you had to be. You were forced.
Like, this was not them being like nice. Like, this is them being like, oh, okay, there's no way in or out. Like, there's no, like, if I run, I'm dead. If I say anything bad, I'm dead.
Yeah.
This isn't, and they didn't even know probably about the leader being dead until they landed. And so it's like, probably the only guy that probably knew is like the Japanese people that knew what they were going in for. Everybody else is just like, oh yeah, let's have some fun, guys.
So tell them about the what happens when how they get to the hotel and their whole setup, their babysitters and all that stuff.
Right. So it's like, if you've ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender and you're going to Ba Sing Se, where you have one person that goes with you, like it's like you're one babysitter, like you don't stay with your people. They break you guys all up and you're with two guards and like one babysitter to tell you what to, like, pretty much translate. And so she tells you what you can and cannot do. And then she just leaves you in your room. And then that's it. And so it's like, yeah, sure, you can make phone calls, but they're listening to your phone calls.
Yeah, but they didn't even tell them. Yeah.
They didn't? Well, no, they're not going to fucking tell you. Like, you can watch TV, but there's only like 3 channels. You can go out for a walk, but the guards will follow you and they will tell you can't go to certain floors. So it's like, that's kind of what happened. It was very much them just kind of waiting. I don't think they could really train. There's this great moment in the documentary where the owner or one of the owners or partial owner of WCW is like, oh, I'm a normal white guy. I'm going to go out for my morning jog because that's what I do. Like, that's just what I'm conditioned to do. And so he gets up. I guess his guard wasn't paying attention and gets up one morning and goes for a morning jog in like North Korea. And people are like horrified to see this dude jogging because everything they've seen on TV of a white man is like a monster. Like, he's like literally like eating people. Like,
yeah. Exactly. Everybody was like, basically the morning was starting. Everybody was getting ready to go to work, school, all that. This guy's jogging and they're like screaming in terror, like running away from this guy or just like staring at him. Like, this has never been seen in North Korea to that point. So that's
I feel like they shut down the city or something. Like it all stopped for like at least that day, and it's like, they probably decontaminated everything, and like he was like ready, like.
So that's how aggressive they would watch you, and how it got over there. So what else are we gonna go into? Oh, go into the. So simultaneously, all this stuff is going on. You're being watched this closely, and you must be, respectful. Go into the whole Scorpio and Hawk thing. What was going on with them during all this? Which they could have got themselves killed, but go ahead.
Well, somebody could have got killed. At least one person definitely could have got killed.
They could have all got killed if you think about it, because if you're being this rowdy in North Korea, you could have got everybody killed, but
everybody could have just got slaughtered. Yeah, and that would have been it. Except for Ric Flair and the Japanese dude and Muhammad Ali. Yeah. Those are 3 people that would have just been allowed to leave, but everybody else, no go. Maybe Eric Bischoff would have got out.
So what was going on with them? Yeah.
So they were having I'm gonna call it a misunderstanding. But what really happened was someone was like coming down off their like roids and shit, and they couldn't sneak drugs into North Korea. And basically they really had it out for each other. Hawk, dropped the N-word on Scorpio, too cool Scorpio. And Scorpio was like, well, I'm not a bitch. And
did he drop the N-word on him?
He did. You should watch it.
I did watch it. I don't remember that. I remember it starting for a little bit of a different reason, but that's probably what spiked the adrenaline.
What did happen? What did start?
So I think he did call him the N-word, but what happened was too cool Scorpio didn't like Ric Flair too much for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And Ric Flair, they all were on this bus to go somewhere, and Ric Flair was going to miss the bus, and he was like, fuck that pussy, let him walk, right?
Yeah.
And then that's when Hawk stands up and he's like, what did you say?
Yeah.
Too cool.
For no reason.
Yeah, too cool Scorpio was like, what did I stutter? What part didn't you understand? Was it the fuck that bitch or the pussy part? That shit had me rolling. So yeah, what happens from there? And then I think Hawk called him the N-word after that. But
yeah, I mean, they had like a scuffle there, like on the bus.
It was a huge fight. It wasn't just a scuffle.
I would call it a scuffle because if it was a huge fight, they would have just got lined up and shot. Yeah. But
okay,
yo, that's true. Too Cool Scorpio was hilarious. But it's because he was the man though, like he was the athlete, and it's like he didn't like Ric Flair, but it was like one of those things where it's like, yeah, Hawk and Ric Flair are friends, but also it's like you need to realize if Ric Flair's not there, they're not showing up. I'm sorry, Too Cool Scorpio. If Ric Flair's not there, I don't think people are showing up. Like some people will, but it's like she's not gonna sell out. So after that, and that's this is the weird, crazy fucking thing about wrestling. You know, these two guys fought each other on the fucking bus, yet you're gonna book them in a match together against each other. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And that's what they booked them in a match together.
That's crazy. That goes to show the professionalism of these guys, though, because even in the match, they still did it. And they still didn't hurt each other. That's crazy. And this happens in different dark sides of the rings, too, like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Oh, man.
We'll go into that one. We'll go into that one later. Yeah. I can feel us branching off already.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get into it there. Too Cool Scorpio tells these stories like, what is it? Like, Eddie Murphy's brother. What's his name?
Oh, Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy and Rick James. They tell these stories like when he's, it was just a scuffle, like what Darkwing said. But this dude talks about how I fucking sidekicked him and he went flying across the bus. and then he tried to hit me, but I dodged all those things. I just wailed on him after. Like the way he paints the picture is so funny. But it's like it was nothing like that.
But he's like bullshitting, right? Because that's the thing. Like because that's what I'm saying. Like I was worried for him. Even though he was talking all this shit, but I was like, nah, dude, Hawk kill you, dog.
Yeah, even the guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, you go.
Even the guys on the bus were like, they're like, all right, I don't give a fuck what Scorpio says. If Hawk was at his prime, he would have killed you. Like what was happening with Hawk is that he had hepatitis C or something.
Yeah, like he had like hepatitis. Then he didn't have like any drugs, so he was like kind of coming down. Like he's like really weak and sick.
He was and those drugs basically they attack you and they just weaken the shit out of you. They were like, man, calm down. You didn't whoop Hawk's ass. If he was at his, wasn't taking those pills, he would have fucked you up. You'd have been dead.
But here's the thing. Even then, like even with Hawk being sick or whatever, and Scorpio talking all that shit, he still was like, I'm gonna make a shiv. Like he wasn't like I was gonna beat his ass. He was like,
he had that prison mentality.
Yeah, which I get it because it's like if a guy's gonna just keep coming at you, sure. But it's like at the same time, if you're just kicking the shit out of this guy, you don't need to stab him. Like, but he knew how strong Hawk was. Like, yeah, dude, like get it. I understand.
Because I think they get into it a couple of times, right? Mm-hmm. They get into it again one more time or something like that.
Yeah, but nothing like physical. Like they get like close. They're like if you're frog, you jump sort of situations. Yeah. And I think that happened like once, and then a second time in the elevator, and then like a third time it happened. But the third time Hawk actually apologized.
Yeah, and they end up squashing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they end up squashing it, which is crazy.
Which shows you like kind of how it's like teenage shit, but like at the same time, it's like today I don't know many people, especially like strong men, who would like apologize and be like, I was wrong for da 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 da. Like I just don't know them. Like I just don't see it anymore. They're just like whatever, like internet or something.
Yeah.
So.
They end up squashing it. So what happens next is none of these athletes are able to call home really. If they are, it's limited. They're stuck in their room. They can, they can't do much. But one of the guys, I forget which one it is exactly, ends up his wife ends up finally calling him, or he calls his wife.
Scott Norton.
Scott Norton.
Yeah,
the big guy, right?
Bodybuilder guy. He's a great wrestler. Really good. I remember you'd know him in WCW. Like he'd wear like striped.
Yeah, striped wrestling onesie thing.
Yeah, singlets.
Yeah, singlets. Yep. So basically, he calls his wife, and she's like bitching him out, like, you're just out there partying it up with the boys and accusing him of doing this and that, possibly cheating, And he's like, no, I'm not. I promise. He keeps going after him, and he's like, you don't understand what kind of shithole we're in. And then click, And I mean, immediately click. And he's like, this, he's thinking this bitch hung up on me.
Hung up on me, yeah.
No, immediately after, it's like click. Like 5 seconds later, dun, 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 knocking on his door. Dun, dun, dun. We need you to come on. Get out of here right now. So basically, the fucking soldiers that are outside of his door fucking like haul his ass up and take him to like some kind of room where he's sure he's gonna die. Like, because basically he's like, he doesn't know what happened exactly, but they pull him into a interrogation room, right? They have him there for a while. He said the tension in there is insane. Like, it's like a movie. Like, you feel like you're about to die. Head honcho finally shows up and immediately starts, railing it into him. You can't talk about our country like that. You can't. This is North Korea. We're the greatest in the world. Who are you to, this and that,
And I believe the crazy thing is the guy came in and he had a Boston accent. Who was talking to him? He had a Boston accent.
Did he? So this guy could speak English. All the other guys couldn't speak English. The interrogator could speak English. So what you're saying by him having a Boston accent, he's possibly a spy or something here?
I don't think he's a spy. Like, they probably like sent him over. He probably like got educated, whatever, and then came back. Like, they just, but it's like, or maybe they just, well, there's no way they showed him on TV, because then he would just wild out. He'd be like, wait, you can do what? There's no way they showed him Jersey Shore, because he would just fucking have lost his mind. But I just think, they send some people out here to live, not necessarily to be spies, and then they come back and they go back home, and then they are the ones who like talk to you that like, because if I'm in North Korea and I've only heard North Korean, and then I'm in trouble and someone comes and talks to me with a Boston accent, you know what I'm saying? Like, my brain is gonna explode. Like,
yeah, I know exactly. So basically they're pretty much.
Before you go into it, it would affect me the same way the first time I saw what Canelo looked like and then heard Canelo speak. Because I was like, the boxer Canelo or whatever. Yeah. I always heard about Canelo, but I never, for like maybe years, I never like looked him up or saw him.
Got you.
And so I was expecting this very cool, tattooed up Mexican dude. And he's a Mexican dude or whatever. Like, don't get me wrong. And then I saw Canelo. I was like, who is this ginger on the stage? And then he starts talking. I was like, whoa. Like, my bro, like, it was like reverse Uno. Like, I was just like,
got triple reverse.
Holy shit.
It was that wild card. But
legit.
Basically,
Canelo's legit. We got to talk about Canelo later. That man's legit. Whew.
Yeah. So basically, they end up threatening to kill him if he says anything else. And all he wants is to get out of that room. They finally let him go. But can you imagine, like, one, how much restraint it's taking all these guys that are all roided up and at their peak to not attack? Because there's been other incidents. We're not going to talk about all of them that was happening in this. And they had to hold themselves back. And then it was, that's crazy to me for one. But then can you imagine how, if they're scaring these athletes that are pro wrestlers, then you can imagine how scary these situations are, They're like afraid for their life. Yeah, he just starts apologizing and like basically his phone was bugged, basically, if you haven't caught on yet. And they're like, wow, everything is bugged. They're watching everything we do.
Everything. And this is before they perform, right? So it's like
it's all before they perform.
So it's like you still have to go and perform.
Yeah, can you imagine? If I fucking stub my toe or fucking get a cut on my hand before I do a podcast, I'm fucking like out of it. I'm like, oh shit, something. Can you imagine all this big shit actually happening?
Yeah, dude. If I had a bad chicken nugget this morning, I would have been like, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Will says, I never knew wrestling had such a history. Yeah, man, you'd be surprised. There's way more than this.
Yeah, dude.
And we're just kind of doing cliff notes. And then
I'll tell you this, because you and Will may not know this. So I'm from Memphis, right? Which is like one of the big wrestling capitals. Before in high school, I was part of like a few different wrestling promotions. Like I worked like a lot of like the background.
For real?
Like nice. Dude, I got body slammed. I saw this one, like wrestling's not a joke. There's this one dude. I seen this one dude get his, like, he basically got his ass new jacked. And he was known for like faking injuries and shit like that. But this one guy who he wrestled is like, oh, you want to be injured? You want to be injured? I'll make you injured. He's unprotected chair shots to the head.
Damn. So he wouldn't hold back. He wouldn't hold back.
This happened in a community center gym. and they had to really call an ambulance for him. And when he was leaving in the ambulance, it's like, that motherfucker's faking again. And he's like, man, we're gonna make him pay for that ambulance. Like, I mean, like he needed to go to a hospital because like what? And I was in high school watching this dude just get made. I mean, the guy took the fucking bell. He took the hammer on the bell, and he would just like he put his like fucking head, and then the bell, and he like pow, 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 and the guy was just
so he was taking solid hits.
Real, because the guy was fake, and the guy was like, oh, I'm like. Maybe I saw New Jack before he went into ECW. Like, I don't know who that guy was, and he didn't get arrested for it or anything.
Wow.
Like, I just remember just being like, all right, this is enough. Like, it was bad. It was really bad.
I was wondering why you were so into wrestling. Like, because basically, I remember when I was staying with you, you'd be, like, your morning routine would be, you'd roll a fat one.
Yeah.
And as you're doing, and most people have a cup of coffee. He's rolling a fat one, and he's sitting at his computer. And people in the morning like him, he'll check the news, whatever's going on in the news and the politics and shit. He'll check the stocks. And then he checks WWE and New Japan Wrestling, and not in that order. He probably did the wrestling stuff first. He's like, oh, I'm like, oh my god. He's like so into it. He's like, oh, look what's going on here. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Hold on. First off, and because I think you're making it, the way you make it sound is like I'm a kid. Saturday morning cartoons are on, and I'm like, no, my god, look at these superheroes. Like I'm into like the strats, the strategy, the decision making. I guess you'd say. I think the term is a mark or something like that. But it's like, I don't think I'm salty about it. I'm just kind of like, well, that was a bad decision. Oh, well, like, I don't let it like bother me that much. Like,
yeah, no, you're not watching it like a kid at all. He's watching this like it's a major NFL game or like it's like the stocks. Like, this is serious business.
it's a $1 billion business, man. They're talking about WWE's getting sold to NBC for like $2 to $4 billion.
That's a crazy thing. It's a legit business. It's a legit business. When you watch this, you start to realize that. Anyways, let's see. Ill Will was also saying nice reference or comparison when you use that avatar comparison for the chaperones. Yeah. And then he said, I Googled Scott Norton. I was thinking Scott Steiner. He kind of looks like Scott Steiner as far as build. Yeah, but
they're a little different.
Yeah, they're different.
But so the avatar thing, Bossing Say, they got that from North Korea. Like, that's where they got that from. Like North Korea didn't get that from Avatar. Avatar got that from North Korea.
Wow.
Like,
that's crazy. And then Will says, I ran into him at the cafeteria. Yeah, we all saw Scott Steiner at the cafeteria when we were going to school for visual effects and 3D animation. We saw Scott Steiner in the cafeteria.
Did y'all talk to him?
Hell no, I didn't talk to him. Like, you want to get fucking body slammed over your seat and fries, for bothering him on his own little lunch break? Hell no.
I think he would have been, like, as long as you guys weren't mean to him, I think he'd be pretty nice. Granted, like, he's like, his promos are famously bad. And like, he does like this really bad math promo. Like, that's what he's famous for. He's like 33 and 4 quarters. Like, this is the percent. Like, it's like it's a fraction percentage equation that makes no sense.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's go into, so all the hotel stuff happened, and the day or night where they got to perform, that comes up. Talk about how they thought no one was going to be there, and then what happened and why they were there.
So here's the deal, folks. Normally, when you go to wrestle someplace and there are fans, those fans that typically show up know what wrestling is. So first off, they were like, well, North Carolina only has 2 to 3 channels, so why would they know what wrestling is? Apparently, for the last 2 to 3 weeks, the only thing they showed on those 2 to 3 channels were Ric Flair matches. So, all right, well, I guess they kind of know what wrestling is, but like, who would show up? Well, guess what, folks? They don't have a choice. Like, there's no, oh, I'm gonna stay home and eat. Like, no. You're coming out, you be here, and if you're not here, gotta help you if you're not here.
Yeah.
So all these people are there. I think it's like 750,000 or something. Like,
it's
like
super high. It's like 175,000 people forced to go to this wrestling event. And keep in mind, there's a famine going on during this time. Nothing to eat. Nothing, that's the way they treat you in North Korea, right? Nothing to eat. No plans. But you got to come to this wrestling event. If not, you're threatened with a bullet to the head, basically. So yeah, it's all forced.
Your whole family.
It's all forced attendance. But yeah, go ahead.
And so with them being forced to attend and them getting 2 to 3 weeks of Ric Flair matches with no context whatsoever, when wrestlers come out to wrestler and they aren't Ric Flair or Ananoki, it's fucking dead quiet.
175,000 people dead silent, awkwardly silent,
because they don't know how to react. They've never
seen this, really.
They've never seen it before. Honestly, like, they've never seen a white man in person unless he was jogging earlier. You know what I'm saying? They've never seen Too Cool Scorpio. Like, they've never seen anybody with his skin color. They've never seen anyone do what he can do. And he's like probably the most athletic person they've seen ever in person. Like, they just don't know. Yeah. They just don't know.
And the women wrestlers too. Women wrestlers come out and they kind of got into that, but it was more of an anomaly as well. They were like, I've never seen women.
Like, women can fight?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It was very surreal. And by the way, you can actually watch the collision in Korea, like the full like event is on YouTube. It's like an hour and 30 minutes or something like that. And it's like with, the history, and then you're hearing the commentators talk and stuff like that, and they're trying to like, oh, the people of North Korea, they're so happy to be here. And it's like they pan to the crowd and they're just like, and you're just like, oh fuck. Yeah. You're just like looking at it. And so so you should like definitely watch it, because you have that like, what's happening in the background, and like watching it play out, you just like, this is so surreal. Like it's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. It's really weird to know the history or the mechanics of what's happening as this live event happens, and you're like, damn, they all have guns on them. Like
yeah, there's like armed guards everywhere.
Yep.
So. What struck me as crazy too is I think before the event started too, they had this huge like it's almost like a halftime show, I would call it, but it's at the beginning. And but they said no NFL halftime even compares to the show they put on over there, because you're forced to be in these shows as well. You're forced to perfect these shows. Everything in Korea you're forced to do. So they had these huge motherfucking shows, even where the crowds they had a whole section of kids, right, in this one crowd, and they have these like signs, and they would like flip these signs over to make different images. You have like thousands of people spread out. It's gonna make these big, elaborate posters, right? So they would all flip it at certain times, and it would depict like North Korea bombing the fucking U.S. with nukes, and like it was not child friendly at all. But these children are forced to show these images, and it would show like, how great North Korea is, but then it would say like peace, right? So
that's all we want is peace after we kill everyone. Yeah,
crazy. And then just the performers on the field, like, it was so crazy, so orchestrated. Nothing's ever been seen like that, and that was a big thing. Anyways, the matches continue to be oddly quiet until go ahead.
Ananoki and Ric Flair, the main event, basically. So the thing about so they played all this footage of Ric Flair, but they didn't play that much footage of Ananoki because they didn't need to, because Ananoki's master, the man who taught him wrestling, was a refugee from North Korea. Yeah. And that was the big thing that was happening in Japan. Like, that was supposed to be like a big secret. Like, if you were from North Korea, the Yakuza's coming after you. Like, even if you escaped, like, they just saw you as like lesser than, and you need to go. And even though you were like running for your freedom, like you left North Korea, like, so clearly you're not about that life. But that's what the Yakuza did, and so like that's why Ananoki was kind of in his political issues that he was in right then and there, because they're like, oh, your master's in North Korea and you knew this and you kept it a secret. And I believe they killed his master too.
Yeah. Can I go into that? So what happened is Ananoki's master got into sumo. Like, he left North Korea, he got into sumo, left that, got into professional wrestling, ended up training Ananoki, and he became this big time wrestler, right? But he's hiding the fact that he's North Korean for obvious facts, right? 'Cause he's in Japan, and they will take you out. Anyways, that gets out, and they basically, a thug, like a Yakuza thug,
in a bar.
He basically shanks him,
stupid.
and this, he dies. But the North Korean narrative of this event is that before that happens, he proclaims his love for North Korea and his dedication to North Korea. And, apparently that's not what the gangsters wanted to hear, so they kill him. So basically they make him out to be a hero, right? So basically when Inoki's in Japan, he's representing his North Korean master. And now this gets the crowd hype on his side.
And so and the thing about Inoki is, like, you'd expect, for him to, like, hear or for that to come out that, your master's North Korea, you're expecting him to be like, well, that's not my master. No. But, like, in fact, he is like, no, that's my master 100%. And this is why I'm a great wrestler. And because he didn't, like, push away North Korea, in fact, embracing it, the North Koreans are like, what? Like, they're kind of like, a Japanese person can sing that embrace from another culture really made them, like, hype. Like, they were like, hell yeah. And so, and then on top of that, they were like, well, if Japan and North Korea work together, we can beat America. Yeah.
So enter Ric Flair. Ric Flair is shoehorned in to be the big heel, which he always kind of is a heel too.
He is, and he's excellent.
He's excellent at it, right? And basically, one of the other purposes, everything in this is political, is we want to show you the power of North Korea. So look, this man was trained by a North Korean. He's going to take down one of our ultimate enemies, which is America. America is Ric Flair.
If a man trained by a North Korean can be an American, what can a North Korean do against America?
Exactly.
Like all these implications, all this. Yeah,
all these implications, exactly. And basically, the crowd goes fucking wild, and it's the biggest wrestling event to this day, 175,000 people.
Yeah.
And they're loving it. And kudos to Ric Flair, because he puts on a show too. He's like, well, fuck it, if I'm going to be the heel, let's ham it up.
Heal it up. Let's go. Yeah.
He lets him portray the Ananoki as, like, being unstoppable, right? Like, so he does his job. And luckily, that went great, because they do finally get to leave North Korea all in one piece. Because I think if anything would have happened other than that, they might have not even left.
Man, they got so close to not making it out of there. Yeah, like, I think Muhammad Ali really was a huge insurance policy for them. Because without Muhammad Ali, I just don't know if they would have let any of them leave. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's, like, again, everything was political. There was a reason why they wanted a big star like that to be there, because I didn't think about that, but that was their insurance policy. If it wasn't for him, oh boy, when he got caught on the bug on the phone with his wife, he would have been dead for sure. He would have been dead
real quick, because no one would have cared.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like there's no internet. Like, maybe there's news. Like, if you just kill everybody, and then it's like, all right, well, we haven't heard from Ric Flair and them in a while. Like that's it. Like, you just haven't heard from them in a while. That's what do you do? Like, there's no internet. There's no. They have their own journalists. Like, the news doesn't leave if they don't want it to leave. What do you do?
And you can't exactly attack them, because you'll be attacking the people.
Yeah,
the innocent people. Like you said, they hide behind them like they're a shield. But what do you say, Darkwing? Do you think, regardless if you're a wrestling fan or not, do you recommend Dark Side of the Ring for people to check it out?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a great peek into, like, because here's the thing, like, if you're not a fan of wrestling, I completely understand it. I've tried to get people to watch wrestling, and every time I get them to try to watch wrestling, like, the stupidest shit comes on, right? And it's like, oh no, I get it, you probably shouldn't watch this. Like, I just agree with them. And so Dark Side of the Ring is a great way for you to watch wrestling and enjoy it, and, like, say, like, oh, I know who, slap it to a Slim Jim, like, I know Macho Man. And then, like, you find out this information about Macho Man, you're like, oh oh my god. It's very I think anybody should watch it if you like documentaries.
It's a story. The stories are great. Watching it as a business, like, you'll take it more seriously as a business. Like, just running this podcast, and what it takes to get guests on, and what it takes to plan it out, hit topics, write out scripts and bullet points. Like, I have so much more respect for what they do in such a big show, how they can organize this many performers, this many attitudes, the money aspect of it, and what they got to deal with behind the scenes, the sponsors. It's crazy. So this really brings that into the forefront.
And considering what they come from, right? Because it's like, if you look at how they were in like the 70s and 80s and 90s, the Attitude Era, and then to be able to pivot and become marketable now to where they're like worth $2 billion, like they were definitely not worth this in the 90s. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so here we are.
Crazy. Well, even like even the one thing we forgot to mention was like another reason that the wrestling promotion wanted to go to North Korea so bad wasn't because they wanted to go to North Korea. It was because they were trying to outdo the WWF. And it was the WCW. It was a WCW event, basically, right? That's what it was.
It was a WCW. Well, and it's like the version of WWF they were going against is this is like Undertaker Prime, right? Yeah. This is Stone Cold. This is The Rock. This is Triple H. This is Mankind. You're going against like Kane. Like you're going against Kurt Angle. Like you're going against like the best.
Rock? Did you say The Rock? Was he there yet?
Yeah.
The beginning of The Rock. Yeah.
This is like right after Nation of Domination Rock. So like this is like full fucking prime Rock. This isn't Rocky Maivia where he's smiling and shit. This is like prime Rock where he's like just fucking destroying people.
Yeah.
Like,
and they did it. It's the one time that not the one time, but it's one of the few times where they really got one over on the WWF.
Yeah, you can't beat that. Like no one, like WWF's gonna never ever be able to do that. Ever. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's a great place to end it. I think everyone should go watch it. If you're if you're into true crime as well, this is a great one. All right, guys. That's it for the BAMcast. I appreciate y'all. Please like and share this video. Send it out to friends. Plug us. All right, guys. We'll be back with another episode later in the week. That down up, 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 down up, that down up, that down up, that down up, dash that bound up, dash that bound up, dash that bound up, dash that bound up, down, up.